Right-wing news sources are collapsing in front of our eyes. If you take a look at the numbers from February 2020 compared to February 2024, the 10 largest conservative media sources are down 40% in viewership. There is this really good article in The Atlantic covering this, and I want to read through it and break it down for you guys. First, make sure you leave a like on this video to help boost it. So the title reads, "Right-wing media are in trouble. The flow of traffic to Donald Trump's most loyal digital media boosters isn't just slowing, it's utterly collapsing." And on to the first paragraph, which says, "As you may have heard, mainstream news organizations are facing a financial crisis. Many liberal publications have taken an even more severe beating, but the most dramatic declines over the past few years belong to conservative and right-wing sites. The flow of traffic to Donald Trump's most loyal digital media boosters isn't just slowing, as in the rest of the industry, it's utterly collapsing." And that first paragraph touches on something that you guys have probably noticed as well. A lot of these mainstream news sources, even the ones that are respectable in my opinion, like MSNBC and CNN, they still have high standards even though they do make mistakes. The viewership on these sites, on these channels, is collapsing as well. Obviously not as much as the right-wing ones, but they have taken a nosedive. Maybe it's because the Biden presidency isn't as much of a train wreck as the Trump presidency. I mean, even New York Times recently said this, that they've been covering Biden unfairly because he doesn't give them access. And I think this is also a function of the rise of new digital media, which is us. It's people like MeidasTouch who have seen an insane amount of growth since even 2022 or 2020. There is this new rise in digital media, and this stuff isn't all new. I mean, the Young Turks have been around for over a decade. I think David Pakman has been doing this for over a decade, but now we are hitting this critical moment, this critical point in time where new digital media is starting to supersede that old media. This next paragraph says, "This past February, readership of the 10 largest conservative websites was down 40% compared with the same month in 2020, according to The Writing, a newsletter that uses monthly data from ComScore, which is essentially the Nielsen ratings of the internet, to track right-wing media. February is the most recent month available within ComScore data. Some of the bigger names in the field have been pummeled the hardest. The Daily Caller lost 57% of its audience. Drudge Report, the granddaddy of conservative aggregation, was down 81%. That is insane to me. The Federalist, founded just over a decade ago, lost a staggering 91%. This is when you compare February of 2024 to February of 2020. The site's CEO, referring to the Federalist, and co-founder Sean Davis called that figure laughably inaccurate in an email, but offered no further explanation or statistics. FoxNews.com, by far the most popular conservative news site, has fared better, losing only 22% of traffic, which translates to 23 million fewer monthly site visitors compared with 4 years ago. And remember, all of mainstream media is declining in some way, but the right-wing falloff has been especially steep. It's been especially bad for them. And this may have been a function of them telling their fan base to not get vaccinated or not worry about COVID when their fan base is the exact age range that needs to get vaccinated. But obviously, it's something bigger than that. So the Atlantic article continues, "What's going on? The obvious culprit is Facebook. For years, Facebook's mysterious algorithm served up links to news and commentary articles, sending droves of traffic to their publishers, but those days are gone. Amid criticism from elected officials and academics who said the social media giant was spreading hate speech and harmful misinformation, including Russian propaganda, before the 2016 election, which is true, the Russian propaganda was absolutely insane. It may have actually won Trump the election since the margins were so close. Facebook apparently came to question the value of featuring news on its platform. In early 2018, it began de-emphasizing news content, giving greater priority to content posted by friends and family members. In 2021, it tightened the tap a little further. This past February, it announced that it would do the same on Instagram and Threads. I've been seeing far fewer political posts on Instagram, and as someone who posts political stuff on Instagram Instagram as well, my engagement has gone down. Have you guys had the same experience with Facebook? I don't use Facebook much, but I'm assuming some of you guys out there do. So then all of this monkeying with the internet's plumbing drastically reduced the federal traffic flowing to news and commentary sites. The changes have affected everyone involved in the digital media, including some liberal-leaning sites such as Slate, which saw a 42% drop, The Daily Beast 41%, and Vox 62%, but the impact appears to have been the worst on average for conservative media. Unsurprisingly, the people who run conservative outlets see this as straightforward proof that big tech is trying to silence them. Neil Patel, a co-founder with Tucker Carlson of the Daily Caller, told me, whoever wrote this article, that the tech giants want to crush any independent media that was perceived to have been helpful to Trump's rise. Patel calls this a form of big tech-driven viewpoint discrimination that should scare any fair-minded individual. Of course, they come up with some vague, broad conspiracy theory about how they're being silenced because they have trouble coping with the fact that their once mainstream publications aren't so mainstream anymore. I mean, the whole silencing thing has always been absurd. You'll have people with millions of followers or people on Fox News Live saying we're being silent. It's like, bro, you're on Fox News right now. But maybe the reason why Facebook started to suppress all political content is because they understand national security and they understand that Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are both trying to place their thumbs on the scale of one of the most important American elections to date. A simpler explanation is that conservative digital media are disproportionately dependent on social media referrals in the first place. Many mainstream publications have long established brand names, large newsrooms to churn out copy, and in a few cases, large numbers of loyal subscribers. Sites like Breitbart and Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire, however, were essentially Facebook virality machines, adept at injecting irresistibly outrageous, clickable nuggets into people's feed. So the drying up of referrals hit these publications much harder. And the final paragraph I'll read says, and so far, unlike some publications that have pivoted away from relying on traffic and programmatic advertising, they've struggled to adapt. Rather than stabilizing amid Facebook's new world order, traffic on the right has mostly continued south. I love that use of new world order there. Among the biggest losers over the past year are the Washington Free Beacon, whose traffic was down 58%. The Gateway Pundit, down 62%. Compare that with prominent mainstream and liberal sites, which, although still well below their 2020 heights, have at least stanched the bleeding. Traffic to the Washington Post and the New York Times from February 2023 to February 2024 was essentially flat. Slate's was up 14%. So I'm glad that you guys can be here with me as we build this new digital media space, as I build my brand, as MeidasTouch continues to explode. We're all in this together, leading the path for the next generations, leading the path for even like the mainstream news sources are starting to copy us. Even people like Don Lemon, who I went on a show recently, he started to understand that this new digital media space is where it's at, and he's grinding it out now, which is awesome. We are going to see this space continue to explode and merge with the mainstream. A lot of the figures who are popular on YouTube or social media are now hitting the mainstream. I mean, people, my friends at school, know some of these large liberal YouTube pundits more so than they know someone like Caitlin Collins, who I love Caitlin Collins as well, but I'm just trying to make the point that this new space is starting to bleed into people's feeds. My name is Adam Mockler. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, make sure you have a great day, comment a blue heart if you made it this far, and see you.